She announced, "I'm pregnant, but I need space to think about us." I said, "Of course." Then I froze our accounts and requested a paternity test. When the results came back, her space turned into desperate begging that I used to think I had a predictable life in the best way. I'm 34, work in project management, have a small but solid circle of friends, and until recently, I thought I was building a future with the woman I loved. Let's call her Anna. We'd been together almost 4 years, living together for the last two. We weren't flashy, not the Instagram couple kind, but we had routines I valued. Cooking dinner together on Tuesdays, Friday movie nights, lazy Sundays where she'd read on the couch while I did chores and podcasts played in the background. If you asked me 6 months ago where I saw myself in 5 years, I would have said, married to Anna, maybe a kid on the way, a house with a modest backyard. Nothing grand, just stability. But looking back, there were cracks I either ignored or convinced myself didn't matter. Anna guarded her phone more than she used to. Not in an obvious, cartoon villain way. No passwords changed in front of me. No shady behavior at 2 a.m., but little things. Screen always down on the table. Quick swipes away from messages when I walked in. Once or twice, I asked, "Everything okay?" She'd laugh and say, "Work stress, that's all. You don't want to see my Slack notifications." There were also the networking events with her coworkers that stretched late into the night. Anna works in marketing, fast-paced, lots of client dinners, social hours. She'd come home tipsy sometimes, smelling of wine and perfume I didn't recognize, shrugging it off with, "You know how these things are." I trusted her. Or maybe I wanted to. Then came that night. It was a Thursday. I remember because I'd worked late and picked up takeout sushi, her favorite. I walked in, set the bags down, and saw her sitting at the kitchen table, hands folded like she was waiting for a verdict. Her eyes were wide, almost glassy. "I need to tell you something," she said. My stomach tightened. I half expected the words, "I cheated." Instead, "I'm pregnant." For a moment, everything froze. My brain flashed a dozen images, cribs, midnight feedings, Anna holding a baby with my eyes. Then she added the part that hollowed me out. "But I need some space to think about us." Space. I repeated. She nodded quickly, like rehearsed. It's a lot. I don't know if we're ready, if you're ready. I love you, but I need room to figure this out for myself." I remember staring at her, the sushi bag still unopened. My hands were damp, my throat tight, but outwardly I forced calm. Years of being the steady one trained me well. "Of course," I said. Just that. No argument, no pleading. She looked almost relieved, like she'd braced for a fight and I'd handed her a pillow instead. That night, I lay awake next to her, mind racing. Pregnancy. Space. Thinking about us. None of it aligned. If this was truly our child, why would she need distance from me? Wouldn't this be the moment for closeness, planning, decisions together? In the dark, I replayed her late nights at networking events. The guarded phone, the sudden mood swings. A seed of suspicion took root, one I didn't want but couldn't ignore. What if the baby isn't mine? By morning, the decision was made. Not out of anger, but out of self-preservation. I couldn't navigate this with emotions alone. If I confronted her directly, she'd spin it as insecurity. If I swallowed my doubts, I'd live with gnawing paranoia. So, while she showered, I opened my laptop and sent an email to my lawyer. The subject line was blunt: request for consultation, family law, paternity, joint assets. That was the moment something inside me shifted. Not rage, not despair, something colder, sharper. If Anna needed space, I'd give her all the space in the world. But in that space, I'd build a wall of facts she couldn't dance around. When she came out of the bathroom, towel around her shoulders, she gave me a small smile. "Thanks for understanding last night." I smiled back. Of course. She didn't see my hands trembling under the blanket. That weekend, while she was out meeting a friend, I pulled out bank statements, joint account info, every document tied to our shared finances. By Monday, I'd frozen our joint assets. Just a precaution, my lawyer assured me. Standard when potential disputes are on the horizon. Anna didn't notice right away. She was too wrapped up in her space, spending nights at her sister's place, sending me short, vague texts. "Just need time. Don't worry." But I worried. Not in the way she thought. In my head, a clock started ticking, each second closer to answers. To the truth, whatever it turned out to be. And for the first time in years, I stopped being just the steady, patient boyfriend. I became a man preparing for war. The following week was a study in contrasts. On the surface, everything seemed normal enough. Anna still texted me casually, short updates like going to yoga or don't wait up, late meeting. If you read her messages in isolation, you'd think we were a couple riding out a minor disagreement. But beneath that thin veneer, I had already shifted gears into something much colder, more procedural. My lawyer, an older guy named Carter who'd handled both divorces and messy custody cases, met me on Tuesday morning. "I'll be blunt," he said after I laid everything out. "If there's even a 5% chance this isn't your child, you need clarity before making a single move. We can request a paternity test once she delivers, but given her vague behavior, we can also file for one earlier once she's far enough along for a non-invasive prenatal test. That way you're not blindsided." I sat across from him, fingers drumming against the leather armrest. "And if it's not mine, then you cut ties clean. Financially, legally, emotionally. That's why freezing the joint accounts was the right call. Don't give her room to entangle you further." It sounded brutal, almost surgical, but I realized that's exactly what I needed, the opposite of messy emotion. Surgery, not screaming. By Thursday, the paperwork was in motion. Letters drafted. Accounts locked. Access limited. My personal savings untouched, but anything with both our names now out of reach. Anna noticed by Saturday. She came home early, a Target bag in hand, and dropped it on the counter with a sigh. My card got declined. I looked up from my laptop, feigning mild surprise. Weird. Could be the joint account freeze. Freeze. Her eyes narrowed. "Yeah," I said, calm as if discussing the weather. "I spoke with my lawyer. With the baby coming, it made sense to put some things on hold until everything's clarified." The silence that followed was heavy. Her mouth opened, closed, then opened again. "Clarified." I met her gaze evenly. "We'll need a paternity test. Through the lawyer. It's standard procedure." Her face drained of color. For a split second, I saw a raw panic, quickly masked by indignation. "Are you serious? You think I'd lie about something like this?" I didn't flinch. "I think the truth can handle a test." She stormed off to the bedroom, slammed the door, and didn't speak to me for the rest of the night. Lying in bed alone, I thought about the surreal inversion of our relationship. A year ago, we'd joked about baby names, what kind of dog we'd get first, whether we'd raise our kids bilingual. Now, I was tallying bank statements and documenting her erratic behavior. The next morning, she emerged with puffy eyes, coffee in hand. "I can't believe you'd do this to me," she whispered. I almost laughed at the wording. "Do this to me." As if protecting myself was an attack. As if I owed blind faith while she demanded space. "I'm not doing anything to you," I replied evenly. "I'm protecting myself until we know the facts." For the next 2 weeks, things grew stranger. Anna oscillated between icy distance and sudden bursts of warmth. One day she'd text, "Thinking about us. I love you." The next she'd vanish until midnight with excuses like, "Work, dinner ran late." I documented everything. Dates, times, her words, her tone. Carter advised me to keep a log, not just for my sanity, but in case things escalated legally. The paternity test was scheduled for the following month. I didn't tell her the exact date at first, just that arrangements had been made. When I finally did mention it, calmly, over dinner, her fork froze midair. "You're really going through with this," she said flatly. "Yes." She set the fork down, pushed her plate away, and muttered, "Unbelievable." Then she retreated to the bedroom again. That night, I sat in the living room staring at our framed photos, smiling vacations, birthday dinners, little snapshots of a life I once thought unshakable. It felt like looking at someone else's memories. Somewhere deep inside, grief coiled, not just at the possibility of betrayal, but at the death of who we had been. The easy trust, the quiet laughter, gone, replaced by this chess match of suspicion. But above that grief was something harder. Determination. If this child wasn't mine, I would not be chained to lies for 18 years. When the day of the test arrived, Anna put on a brave front. She held her head high, shoulders stiff, but her hands trembled when the technician explained the procedure. She didn't look at me once. Afterward, in the car, she finally broke the silence. "You've ruined everything." I kept my eyes on the road. If the baby's mine, nothing's ruined. If it's not, then it was never mine to begin with. She turned to the window, silent tears running down her cheeks. The results would take a couple of weeks. In that limbo, the house felt like a crime scene. We spoke only when necessary. She slept at her sister's more often than not. When she was home, she wandered the rooms like a ghost. And me? I found a strange, unexpected calm. Because the truth was already on its way. Update 1. The envelope came on a Tuesday. I'd been expecting an email or a call, but Carter insisted on hard copies too. Paper trails matter, he said. Courts respect official documentation more than screenshots. So when the thick envelope arrived by courier, I sat at the kitchen table with my hands steady, heart oddly calm. Weeks of waiting had hollowed me out. It wasn't anticipation anymore. It was inevitability. I slid it open with a butter knife, unfolded the papers, and read the conclusion printed in stark black letters. Probability of paternity, 0%. 0. Not 98%. Not even some margin of doubt. A clean, clinical no. I don't know what I expected to feel in that moment. Fury? Relief? Instead, it was silence. Like standing in an empty stadium after the crowd's gone home. I sat there for maybe 10 minutes, staring at the words. Then I texted Carter, got the results. 0. What next? He called immediately. Then we moved forward. You're protected. With the assets frozen, she can't leverage you financially. The next step is formal separation. I nodded, though he couldn't see me. And the baby? Not your responsibility, legally or otherwise. When Anna came home that evening, I was still at the table, the envelope beside me. She froze when she saw it. Her eyes darted from the papers to my face. They came. Yes. Her hands trembled as she reached for them, but I pulled the envelope back. I read it. That's enough. She swallowed, voice barely above a whisper. And I looked at her evenly. Not mine. For a second, her mask cracked. A sharp inhale, a flicker of panic. Then came the performance. She pressed her palms to her cheeks, staggered back like she'd been struck. That can't be right. Tests make mistakes. It's yours. I know it's yours. I shook my head slowly. It's not. Silence thickened the room. Finally, she dropped into a chair, clutching her head. I didn't. I wasn't sure. I just needed time. I almost laughed. Time? You asked me for space, Anna. But space isn't what you needed. You needed cover. Her eyes brimmed with tears. Please listen. It was one time. I didn't mean for it to happen. It didn't mean anything. Except a child, I said. My voice sounded detached, like I was narrating someone else's tragedy. She reached across the table, hand outstretched. We can still fix this. I love you. I want to raise this baby with you. DNA doesn't have to matter. I leaned back, folding my arms. It matters to me. Her tears spilled over then, real or rehearsed. I couldn't tell. Don't do this. Don't leave me alone in this. The irony stung. She had wanted space. She had pushed me away. Now, with the truth in black and white, the narrative flipped. Suddenly, I was cruel for giving her exactly what she asked for. I'm not leaving you, I said, standing. You left us the moment you crossed that line. She followed me down the hall, voice breaking. Please, don't. We can go to counseling. We can. I stopped in the doorway of the bedroom, turned to her. You didn't just cheat, Anna. You built a whole reality on it. You looked me in the eye and told me you were carrying my child. You let me plan, let me hope. That's not something we patch with counseling. Her shoulders collapsed. For the first time, she looked small. Over the next few days, desperation seeped into every interaction. She called, texted, left notes by the coffee maker. We can make this work. I can't lose you. DNA doesn't define love. But the more she clung, the calmer I became. The power dynamic had flipped entirely. She needed me now, and I wanted nothing but distance. Her sister even called me once. She's devastated, she said. She knows she messed up, but you two built a life together. Are you sure you're ready to throw it away? I answered honestly. It was already gone. I just didn't see it. At work, I kept everything compartmentalized. No one knew. I wore the same professional mask, hit my deadlines, led meetings. But on the commute home, I sometimes caught myself staring out the train window, wondering when exactly my life had veered into this parallel reality. The final straw came a week later. Anna showed up at my office unannounced, eyes red, clutching her stomach. She begged me in the lobby, voice breaking. Please, don't abandon me. I can't do this alone. Every pair of eyes in reception burned into me. I felt a mix of pity and shame. Not for myself, But for her, unraveling so publicly. I led her outside, spoke firmly but quietly. Anna, I won't abandon you. I just won't live a lie. This child isn't mine, and you knew that was a possibility before you told me otherwise. That choice wasn't mine, it was yours. She broke down on the sidewalk, sobbing. People stared, whispered. I walked away. That night, I drafted my final message. The lawyer will handle everything from here. Please direct communication through him. I wish you peace. I pressed send, turned my phone face down, and exhaled. For the first time in months, I slept soundly. Final update. It's been about 6 months since the envelope, and life feels not normal, but mine again. Anna tried for weeks to keep a foothold in my life. Even after I told her to direct all communication through Carter, she sent emails, left voicemails, even mailed handwritten letters. They all carried the same theme: remorse, desperation, and the plea that DNA doesn't define family. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. Silence is its own answer. Her sister reached out once more, asking if I could at least visit Anna during the pregnancy. She's struggling, and she keeps saying she wishes she could turn back time. I told her the truth. I don't hate Anna. I don't even wish her harm. But any support I gave now would be dishonest, for her, for the child, and for myself. The child deserves someone fully invested. That can't be me. My parents were shocked when I told them everything. My mother cried, partly out of sympathy for Anna, but also from relief that I hadn't blindly signed myself into 18 years of responsibility for another man's mistake. My father, practical as always, just said, "Good thing you froze those accounts." Friends reacted in their own ways, some with anger on my behalf, some with awkward silence. A couple admitted they'd had suspicions about Anna for a while, but hadn't known how to say it. That stung, but I understood. People don't like to insert themselves into relationships unless asked. Work became my anchor. I threw myself into projects, took on a new leadership role, even started mentoring a junior colleague. Having somewhere structured to pour my energy saved me from spiraling into bitterness. But the real turning point came one Friday night, sitting alone in my apartment with a whiskey glass sweating on the table. I was replaying everything again: the late nights, the space speech, the envelope. For weeks, my thoughts had circled the same drain. How could she? How did I not see it? Then a quieter thought surfaced. What if I stopped making her betrayal the center of my story? It startled me how simple that shift was. Anna's choices had detonated my old life, yes, but they didn't have to dictate my new one. That weekend, I signed up for a woodworking class, something I'd always wanted to try but never had time for. 2 weeks later, I joined a hiking group, then a language app, Japanese of all things. Small steps, but each one felt like laying bricks for a life that was mine alone. Of course, Anna didn't disappear. Mutual friends kept me updated, whether I asked or not. She gave birth recently. Healthy baby, from what I hear. The father? Not in the picture. Apparently, he cut ties the moment she told him. Now she's living with her sister, relying on family for support. Do I feel sorry for her? Honestly, yes. Raising a child alone is hard, even with help. I wouldn't wish that burden on anyone. But pity isn't the same as responsibility. And guilt isn't the same as love. The hardest part hasn't been losing Anna. It's been untangling the version of myself that existed in that relationship. I prided myself on being steady, supportive, patient. But looking back, some of that was just me avoiding conflict, ignoring red flags because I wanted stability more than truth. That's the scar I carry now, not just her betrayal, but my own blindness. I've started therapy, not because I'm broken, but because I don't want this to calcify into cynicism. The therapist asked me once, "What did you learn from all this?" My answer surprised even me. I said, "That love without trust is just a performance, and I won't perform again." It's not a bitter statement, it's clarity. As for Anna, I doubt we'll ever speak again. Our lives have diverged completely. She has her path, I have mine. Sometimes, late at night, I wonder if she tells herself a different story about us, that I was cold, that I abandoned her, that the test was some cruel act. People rewrite history to survive. Maybe she has to. But I know my truth. I gave her space when she asked. I gave her trust until facts proved I couldn't. I responded with calm, not rage. And when the truth came, I chose myself. That choice hasn't been easy. It's lonely at times, but it's clean. And in a world where people weave lies into entire lives, clean is priceless. The last 6 months have taught me something else too. Silence can be more powerful than any speech. I never shouted, never slammed doors, never tried to win. I just stopped feeding energy into a false story. And that silence was what undid her, not me. Her need for space turned into desperate attempts to reconcile. My quiet became the loudest thing in the room. Now, as I look ahead, I don't think about babies or betrayal or envelopes in the mail. I think about the next hiking trip, the project launch at work, the small wooden box I'm carving in class. My life is smaller, maybe, but it's honest. And that's enough.